Like and share now, so you don't miss episode 22, when Tu Diep and James face life's challenges. From the farm to the office, where love and duty blend to create new hope. Early in the morning, dew still clung to the leaves and eggplants in the garden. Tu Diep awoke from a light sleep, broom in hand, quietly sweeping the yard. She quickly fed the ducks, then took some cold rice and put it into a bowl for Haki, the little dog she'd been caring for ever since she began living with James. Once she finished, she quickly changed her clothes, grabbed a bucket and a conical hat, and got ready for the eggplant harvest outside the town. At the same time, James drove up to the front gate of her house. Knowing that Tu Diep was going out to harvest today, he arrived early to drive her. When Diep stepped out of the house, she was slightly surprised to see James waiting for her. She merely nodded, said little, and got into the car. During the drive, an unusual silence settled between them. James occasionally glanced over at Diep and saw that her face was pensive, her eyes tinged with sadness as if burdened with something. He wanted to ask her but held back, not wanting to embarrass her. Meanwhile, Diep was lost in thought about what her uncle had mentioned, the unresolved questions about James's family that left her feeling overwhelmed. The car wound its way through the twisting roads, the wind softly whistling past the window gap. At one point, James turned on the radio, but after a few notes, the music died down. He couldn't concentrate, clearly noticing that Tu Diep was different today, quiet, distant, and hiding something. When the car stopped at the eggplant garden gate, James got out, opened the door, and helped her with the bucket. In a gentle voice, he said, "I'm off to work now, so take care of yourself." Tu Diep nodded, replying, "Drive safe," and then turned to walk into the garden. James watched her for a while before returning to the car. In his eyes, her slight figure appeared to be carrying the weight of the world, leaving him feeling helpless that he couldn't ease her burden. Tu Diep walked slowly along the path, weaving through rows of eggplants that were in season. Each eggplant seemed to be soaked with night's dew, reflecting the weak morning light. She began her work, trying to push aside her swirling thoughts, yet her heart still felt heavy. As she snipped the eggplants with her shears, she fought back tears, forcing herself to look up and swallow them. She silently repeated, "Just a little more effort. Just don't let him find out." On the way to the factory, James happened to meet Tung, who was visiting the rice fields. They stopped to talk under a roadside tree, with the early sunlight piercing through the leaves to create an unexpectedly serene scene. Tung pointed toward the distant fields and excitedly told James about a new rice variety currently under trial. James listened intently, nodding as he took it all in, inwardly considering whether to introduce this rice strain to support local farmers in an upcoming project. The conversation soon turned personal. Tung looked at James and gently said, "You should marry Tu Diep. Don't let someone else take her away. I once liked her, but I know only you can truly make her happy." Those words stunned James for a few seconds. His gaze softened, as if something within him had been awakened. He realized that Tung was right. It was time to give Tu Diep a clear status in his life. After parting from Tung, James sat alone in his car, his mind racing with thoughts about the future. He recalled Diep's recent sorrowful looks, the times she fell silent, her forced smiles. Perhaps she was waiting for a promise, a solid assurance. James felt a powerful urge. He couldn't keep her waiting in uncertainty any longer. Elsewhere in town, Tu Diep was stooping to load a bucket of eggplants onto her stall, greeting customers in her gentle, familiar voice. After making her sales, she stopped by Bak Kien's house, carrying some cakes and fruit. However, the meeting left her feeling even heavier at heart. Bak Kien welcomed her with a troubled expression. When he heard her mention James, he immediately frowned and advised her to stay away from him. Without saying much, he kept hinting that there was something shady in James's family and that a girl like Diep shouldn't get involved. Feeling sad, Tu Diep tried to ask for more details, but Bak Kien only rambled about rumors and what people say. Not wanting to argue, she gently reminded him to take care of his health before excusing herself. On her way back, the slanted sunlight cast long shadows through the trees onto the red dirt road. Tu Diep walked slowly, her mind echoing his words, an unsettling mixture of worry and a slowly shattering trust. Every step felt heavier as she walked with an empty bucket by her side. The emptiness wasn't just in her hands, but also in her heart. Ahead lay the familiar fork in the road, one way leading to the farm and the other to town. Tu Diep paused for a few seconds, then silently turned onto the tree-lined path where James was. the one person who made her both hopeful and afraid at the same time. Tu Diep returned home, rolled up her sleeves, kneaded the dough, and began shaping each sticky rice cake. Standing by the charcoal stove, she poured oil into the pan, patiently frying each cake until they turned golden and filled the small shanty with a delicious aroma. As she worked, she smiled softly, as if pouring a part of her emotions into the cakes. Once finished, she picked up her phone and called James, inviting him over to try them. Not long after, James arrived carrying a bag of fruit. He sat down next to Diep and they ate the cakes together while chatting softly. The atmosphere started off comfortably, but then, when James unexpectedly handed to Diep a fried cake, she began to feel nauseous. Her face turned pale and her hands trembled so much that the cake nearly slipped from her grasp. Alarmed, James immediately called a nurse to come to the house. After a short examination, the nurse quietly reported that Diep showed early signs of pregnancy. James was stunned, unsure whether to feel joy or worry. He stepped in to check on her, his eyes filled with concern. Diep hesitated, a flash of worry crossing her eyes. Yet, she quickly concealed her true feelings, smiling as she teased James by saying that she was only exhausted and nothing was seriously wrong. She deliberately chose to lie, not wanting to further burden him while his company was still far from stable. Relieved, yet unable to hide his concern, James gently took Diep's hand and said, "Once the company settles down, I'll bring you home. I won't let you live alone anymore." Diep nodded, though deep inside a sense of unease stirred. If it really was a baby, would she have enough courage to say the truth, to face everything head-on? James left, feeling somewhat reassured that things were under control. But he had no idea that Diep might be hiding something crucial, a secret that could change both of their lives. Sitting alone in the small kitchen, the dim light cast soft shadows on the earthen floor. Outside, the night wind whistled through the gaps in the bamboo, as if whispering vague promises of the future. Once again, Diep's fate was caught in an uncertain twilight, where truth was veiled by love, hope, and fear. Diep sat in deep thought on the front porch, holding a bunch of greens, but her heart was in turmoil. She couldn't focus on anything, not even on chopping vegetables for the chickens as she did every day. Overwhelming doubts cluttered her mind. She couldn't understand why she was experiencing symptoms of pregnancy, despite being certain she'd never been with James. The question, "Who is the father?" echoed relentlessly, leaving Diep exhausted and confused. She feared facing James, worried about his disappointed or suspicious look, the very man she trusted most. Meanwhile, James was immersed in an entirely different mindset. After much deliberation, he decided to purchase a plot of land in town for 1.5 billion VND. The location was very convenient, near the center, ideal for building a house, opening an office, or starting a business, as well as being practical for the children's future schooling. James wasn't just thinking about the present, he was planning for a long-term future with Diep. Not stopping there, he visited a jewelry store and selected an engagement ring priced at 2.35 million VND. Holding the small box, James's eyes shone with determination and nervous excitement. He was ready to propose to the girl he had loved for so long. James wanted to give Diep a clear place in his life, a proper home. He believed it was time for both of them to step into a new chapter of their lives. But he was unaware that, not far away in that small shanty, Diep was living in a state of fear and doubt. The gap between them wasn't just the few dusty roads. It was a huge secret that could shatter everything if left unaddressed. In the early morning, Diep once again made her way to the market to sell bananas, just like any other day. But this time her steps felt heavier. Her face was quiet, her eyes laden with sorrow, and each banana in her hand seemed to add to her worries. She wasn't only anxious about how much money she would make to buy feed for the chickens, but also secretly troubled by the unspeakable truth, a pregnancy growing inside her. A single question kept swirling in her mind. What should I do with this baby? Elsewhere, James, busy with countless tasks running his company, couldn't stop worrying about Diep. He tried calling her several times, but no one answered. Sensing that something was wrong, James hurriedly went to her house with the engagement ring box hidden in his jacket pocket. He sat waiting, in front of the familiar bamboo shanty, in the quiet mountain air. James smiled, both nervous and rehearsing his proposal in his head. "Kiap, will you be my wife?" Those soft words carrying so much emotion and hope. He believed he was ready to start a small family with the girl he loved. Unexpectedly, just behind the bamboo wall, Diep was quietly eavesdropping on everything. Her eyes fixed on James as tears streamed down her face. She wanted to run over and embrace him, to say yes, but fear and self-doubt held her back. How could she face James when inside she harbored a truth that even she didn't fully understand? As evening fell, James had to leave, his heart full of worry and disappointment. He got into his car and drove away, unaware that just seconds after his departure, Diep stepped out, sat down on the doorstep, and broke into uncontrollable sobs. "I'm sorry. I don't know how to face you." Diep's whispered apology dissolved into the mountain breeze, leaving behind a lonely and anguished night.
Của bao những ngày khi cảm giác ngọt ngào ấy len lỏi trong vào lòng, nỗi tự ti lại trỗi dậy như một con sóng dữ. Mình là ai mà dám yêu anh ấy? Một người phụ nữ nghèo khổ từng bị chồng bỏ rơi, không cha không mẹ, mình không xứng đáng. Cô tự nhủ, đôi mắt mờ đi vì những giọt nước mắt kìm nén. Diệp bước chân ra, đôi tay gầy guộc ôm lấy mình để xua đi cái lạnh của cơn gió sớm. Cô cúi xuống nhìn Haki, chú chó đang bẫy đuôi bên chân cô, và mỉm cười yếu ớt. Haki, bạn đã đói chưa? Cô hỏi với giọng dịu nhẹ nhàng như nói với một người bạn thân thiết. Cô lấy chút thức ăn căn bếp nhỏ xuống, đặt xuống quan sát Haki. Anh ngấu nghiến với đôi mắt long lanh nhìn chú chó. Cô cảm thấy lòng nhẹ nhõm hơn một chút, nhưng nỗi dây dứt về giam vẫn không ngừng gõ cửa tâm hồn cô. Mình đã từ chối anh ấy, nhưng tại sao là mình đại đau như thế này? Cô tự hỏi, tay vô thức siết chặt mép áo rách như thể muốn bám víu một điều gì đó không thể chìm vào hố sâu cảm xúc. Cô thức dậy quyết định bắt đầu ngày mới bằng công việc quen thuộc, nấu ăn cho Haki, chăm sóc vườn. Khi ngọn lửa trong bếp nhỏ bùng lên, cô nhìn vào đó, tưởng tượng con mực giam hiện ra giữa những tia sáng nhảy múa. Cô nhớ đến giọng nói trầm ấm của anh, cách anh kiên nhẫn đến bên cô một ngày trong bóng tối, nhưng rồi với lời từ chối hôm qua lại hiện về sắc nhọn như một nhát dao.